Welcome to the scare floor.
How do I become a scarer?
I'm officially a college student.
Mike Wazowski.
James P. Sullivan.
Like Bill Sullivan?
He's my dad.
I expect big things from you.
I just need to ace my classes, graduate with honors, and become the greatest scarer ever.
Put that thing back wherever it came from. Oh, so help me. Oh, hey, we're rehearsing a podcast about Monsters University.
God damn, that was a throwback joke.
I've just been singing it constantly because I know we're already getting off topic here, but I watched Monsters Inc. the other day, to reminisce. And how funny is that film?
I do like Monsters Inc. Although I gotta say it's not one of my favorite Pixar movies.
It's in my top. Like I can't pick my favorite Pixar movie, but it's in the top 3 or something.
Sorry, I should say what I like about Monsters Inc. the original is I like Mike and Sully. I like their duo, that tag team, that partnership. I really like the chemistry between John Goodman and Billy Crystal. But
it's brilliant.
What I don't particularly like about that film is it gets a bit sugary sweet with Boo, the little girl.
Yeah, it really does. So given that, then Monsters University, they went to do a prequel, so Boo's not there.
Yeah, and when I heard that, I kind of thought, oh, maybe this is going to be better than the original, because I think when you look at Toy Story 2, I always say Toy Story 2 I think is funnier than the first one, and Toy Story 3 has probably got the best story. So Pixar can do sequels, or at least new parts of a franchise, and do them justice. But I'm not sure. I don't think that this film's any worse. Well, it sounds like I really don't like Monsters, Inc. No, I think this is probably on par with Monsters, Inc.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think, but it's on par for different reasons. Like you're saying that Toy Story 2 is the funniest one, but 3 has the best story. This is a similar situation. Like the storyline in this one, not a lot happens, but in terms of character development, I think it's quite good, and it perfectly sets up the characters that you see in the original one.
Yeah, it does, and I got to say, what I liked about it particularly is that I thought it was just going to go down this kind of this route in the story, which was a bit of a cop-out, but it doesn't. It doubles back on itself, and it kind of does show growth and character development, and it shows characters, having to face up to who they are and what, life's harsh realities, even for monsters. But maybe we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves here. Monsters University, probably the only film that is about frat life that carries a U certificate.
Yeah, this was like Animal House for like kids. Really, it's bizarre that the concept that they picked to like explain this film.
Yeah, I mean,
especially because in the original one, there's a throwaway line where they say that Sully and Mike have been friends since the 4th grade. So they could have easily gone back, and actually, like, without retconning anything, let's put them in the 4th grade, or let's show them as friends and back in the day. But no, they put them in university together, and
I think it was a smart move.
Yeah, I think it's a great move because it's one time in your life when you're really exploring who you are.
And if nothing else, you're giving us characters who are younger, and you can tell their origin, but you can still bring in Billy Crystal and John Goodman.
Yeah.
And you just make Mike and Sully look younger. And I think one thing that was actually quite good about this film is they did manage to make these monsters look younger.
Sully looked damn cool.
Sully, yeah. I like what they did to Sully. They basically give him like a kind of mohawk haircut to basically insinuate that he's young and hip. And they just seem to cute Mike up a little bit, not overly too much, but
he just looked a bit glossier, like he had a bit more shine.
Yeah, and his eye was a bit bigger, and he just seemed to life's great weight had got to him. But yeah, basically the kind of storyline is Mike is a bit of an outcast as a child. He's not really got any friends. He's a bit small, and the other monsters kind of overlook him. And he goes on a field trip with his classmates to Monsters Inc., at which time he's inspired to become a scarer by the scarers that are on hand to kind of demonstrate what they do for a living. So he basically throws himself into the academia of the art of scaring, and is pretty much the hardest working student ever. He knows everything about scaring. He knows all the different techniques and all the different art forms, and he can do. If you ask him a question about scaring, he knows how to do it. The only problem is he is a monster isn't scary.
Yeah,
At
it's
all.
quite a flaw considering he knows everything. He just can't do it. And then
No,
you've got Sully, who's the polar opposite to that. He's lazy. He never goes to class. He doesn't even bring a fucking pencil. And we've all met people like that.
Oh yeah,
But
Look, he's from a well-established family of scarers, the Sullivans. It never actually shows the parents, but it alludes to the fact that his family are a long line of great scarers, and he has to live up to the family name or be a great disappointment. And he kind of coasts through life with using his family name.
Yeah,
as you say, he doesn't try. He is the complete opposite of Mike. And of course, you throw them together, hilarity ensues.
of course it does. Which is the great the comedy double act that we see in Monsters Inc. But they're friends already by that point. This is like so long. It's like a clash of personalities. It's so good.
And it could have kind of gone down. It kind of does to a point go down that typical route of we're so opposites, but we're friends anyway. And it does go down that. But what I did actually like is that Mike's the uptight. He's kind of an arsehole.
Yeah.
he's uptight. He thinks he's a bit of a know-it-all. He thinks he knows it all. He thinks he's better than everybody, and everyone should listen to him. Whereas John Goodman Sully, he gets by because he's naturally talented. He thinks that he doesn't have to put any effort in, and he'll things will just happen for him. And what I like though is that Mike could have been way, way overbearing and not very likable, but he never quite goes that far.
No.
And Sully is not just a jock dick either.
He's actually quite a nice guy as well. So
I really liked him. He's the cool guy you want to be friends with. And I like the fact that despite these characters being kind of opposite ends of the spectrum, neither one of them kind of went too
No, it was
overboard.
they got the line perfect with these guys. And especially when you're talking about them coming together as friends, they didn't do it in the most obvious fashion either. They did it like it would happen in real life. So like when they're forced to work together, even at the moment when they realise, hey, I'm good at scaring but I know nothing, and you're good at knowing things but can't scare anyone, even when they've worked that out, they still never quite gel together until it's a natural progression rather than a forced one.
No, you're right. I did think it was quite nice in that way. The relationship did feel natural as they came to. It's kind of like a respect that develops over the course of the film for each other's talents, basically, where the strengths lie.
I do think a lot of the really funny moments is when they're just like in a direct competition with each other.
Yeah,
because there's a moment in the first game that they play, and they're doing a race through like sewer tunnels, and they're just not giving a shit about anyone else. And it's just like, I'm going to destroy... Everyone else is like getting together as teams, and they're like, come on, let's do it for the team. And they're like, I'm going to fucking destroy you.
Yeah, I did think that was good. Because one thing we didn't mention is basically these two, meet at university, but through dire circumstances, their place on the scarers course is threatened at the university. So they have to join a fraternity and compete in the scare games, which is where all the fraternities go up against each other to prove that they're the scariest monsters. Now, the only fraternity that will have these two people is Uzma Kappa, and it's essentially the monsters equivalent of the Revenge of the Nerds fraternity.
Yeah, it is.
And obviously, Mike and Sully have kind of got to, at first, they're basically in competition with each other to prove they're the best scarer, but they've also got to carry these monsters who are pretty friggin' useless when it comes to anything, let alone scaring.
Yeah, they're classic Pixar like idiot characters, but not they don't go as far as like Mater from Cars. I didn't think.
Oh no, they weren't that
Still,
bad.
like if there's one thing we said again that this film gets really right is that all the characters, no matter how extreme they are, they never go too extreme.
No, they're always likable in their own way, and I know if anything, the fraternity brothers are kind of the light humor, the comic relief. And I like them. You got quite a mix. One thing I didn't realize is that Art, who's the kind of furry little pair of legs.
Yeah,
he's voiced by Charlie Day, who I've just seen in Pacific Rim as well. I had no idea that he voiced him, but on reflection, now that I know that, it's blatantly obvious.
Yeah, there's some interesting voice actors in this for a Pixar film.
Yeah.
I thought like, as soon as the leader of the jock fraternity just started talking, I was like, holy shit, that's Nathan Fillion.
Yeah, well, it took me till about halfway through where he had like that kind of twang to his voice that Nathan Fillion has, and I thought, is it? I don't really know who is in this movie other than Billy Crystal and John Goodman. Because you got Steve Buscemi turning back up as Randy.
Which was really nice because I didn't I never heard that he was coming back. I always just assumed he was. So then I was just like, oh, good. I knew his character was coming back.
Well, the thing is, I'm sure Paul told me that he wasn't going to be in it at all, but that was quite some months ago, so maybe it hadn't been announced or something. But I'm sure somebody, I'm pretty sure it was
Maybe
Paul told me.
It was a nice surprise for me as well, because I'm sure Paul told me as well. I didn't want to bring it up in case I just made that up, but if you did it...
Well, if we're both making it up, it's 2 pairs.
Yeah, we'll play that.
But yeah,
I love Randall's character in this. He plays such a nerd.
Well, see, I like the fact that he was in it, but I thought they kind of wasted him.
They did, but...
He's in there for the sake of them saying, this is how Randall's and Sully's relationship or rivalry started. And it's so throwaway.
Each of them is like a direct, cheesy nod to the original film. And like, the first time you see him, Mike says, "Oh, great, my new roommate, I'm going to open the door and he's going to be my best friend ever." And he opens the door and you just see Randall's silhouette and it just goes like, bum, 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 bum.
Yeah, I actually quite like that because you expect, as soon as he says that, for Sully to be standing there.
I thought it was really funny.
I thought that was good.
Like, over-the-top nod to the original. And then later on, when Sully beats Randall in one of the scare games, Randall just, like, turns to camera and just Deadpool's like, "You are now going to be my enemy and you will never beat me again, Michael J. Sullivan."
I know, I was like, oh, for God's sake. You know, they could have, like, Nathan Fillion's head of the kind of evil fraternity, the jock fraternity, they could have just made that Randall.
Yeah, they could have, couldn't they?
And, you know, that would have made the rivalry more deep-seated and more relevant. But he's in there just... it doesn't interfere with the film. He's in there just for, like, a kind of wink and a nod to the original.
Really,
and it was all right.
They're, like, the only nods that I could really see to the original one.
Well, there is another one towards the end.
The cameo.
The cameo from... Is it Roz?
Yeah.
But she's never actually directly seen.
No.
So she's wearing a full kind of hazmat suit.
Yeah, so she's in it. But I was expecting a lot more. Because I don't know why. I just thought that because it's foreshadowing events later on, they'd feel the need to do it, and I'm quite glad that they didn't throw in a nod every 5 minutes. But when they did them, it was good.
Oh no, you're right. I did like it. It had just enough for kind of like fans of the franchise or fans of Monsters Inc. to say, hey, you know, it's kind of like a consistent world. You had also a cameo appearance from the Abominable Snowman.
Yeah, I was just, how are they going to fit him in? Because he wasn't in any of the film. I was like, is he going to come in as a professor or something? Because it's John Ratzenberger.
Yeah, who is in every Pixar movie.
He's going to have to be in it, and he's already got the Abominable Snowman character. So I was like, are we going to see him, how he gets exiled or something? But you kind of do.
Yeah, you find out why he's exiled.
It's so lame.
But, I mean, you've got, like, Alfred Molina in this, who is Professor Knight. I had no idea. And Aubrey Plaza's in it as well.
Helen Mirren?
Helen Mirren is the Dean Hardscrabble. Goddamn Dean Hardscrabble. She's pretty much a dragon. She looks awesome. When I think, like, she is a scary fucking monster. She looked like a dragon.
Like Helen Mirren as well, though. That's what was really cool.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It
did have a strange resemblance, despite it being this cartoon monster. But yeah, she was a badass monster. She was like a dragon on top, and then this kind of insect body.
Yeah,
you can kind of see why she might have possessed the Screaming record.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got a couple of different people in here, but on the whole, it's quite a good cast. Although I honestly didn't realize half the cast was in this because they all do pretty good jobs at putting on characters.
Yeah, I think the only person to me that was obvious was Nathan Fillion, and a lot of the times, all the other actors they put on a character show, but they don't have as many lines as like Sully or Mike do.
Yeah,
like this is heavily geared towards those guys.
Oh yeah, definitely. But Billy Crystal and John Goodman, I really like them.
Like I think that's what this film does the best. It could have been an awful film, and I'd have still enjoyed it because just of them two.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they've got good chemistry. I like them both as actors. I think I think they're both really entertaining. I particularly like John Goodman. I think he's really good.
I still haven't seen Argo, and I really want to see him in that. I know he's probably not in a huge amount, but.
He was in The Hangover 3.
Yes, he was. He had. Was he like a?
He was the drug dealer that kind of sets them on their adventure. He wasn't in it much, and he was a bit wasted, to be honest. But I actually watched the Coen Brothers film the other day, the Barton Fink.
Oh yeah.
Where he is this kind. Is it John Turturro?
And Stanley Tucci, is it?
No. I always get them too confused.
Oh no, that's what I'm doing. Yeah.
Yeah, John Turturro is like a writer who goes to. He's a
Yeah.
a Broadway playwright who goes to Hollywood, and John Goodman's his kind of roommate across the hall in the hotel.
Yeah.
Who helps him, but it's really dark, and John Goodman's pretty dark as things go on. But yeah, I love John Goodman, and I like Billy Crystal as well.
Yeah.
He's I think he's a fun guy.
And Mike and Sully are just fun. They're just fun to be around.
Yeah, they are, and it was nice to see their kind of relationship develop because they, as we've said before, they're polar opposites when the film starts, but it just feels like a nice natural progression between their relationship. So as far as the cast goes, I think this film's pretty good. The characters were fun.
Yeah.
I think you kind of touched on it before. Actually, where this film kind of falls down is the overarching plot.
Yeah, it's not great. It's
pretty
every university or like American like college film has a very similar plot to this. In fact, when I came out and I was trying to think about what I was going to say about it, if you've seen American Pie Beta House, it's the exact same plot.
Oh God, it's not even one of the numbered American Pie.
It's like one guy goes to uni, he meets a guy like who he doesn't really like, and they end up becoming friends, and they decide to team up together to take down a different fraternity by entering the Greek Olympiad of Games.
Oh Jesus! It's you're right. It is every fraternity movie we've ever seen before. It's Animal House. It's Revenge of the Nerds. It's American Pie Beta House.
Yeah. Even down to like specific things where Sully at one point kidnaps a rival school's like pet pig.
Yes, that is always in these movies. Hell, this film is even similar to Old School.
Yeah, I didn't know it is, and I only watched that the other day as well.
So, if you're going into this expecting some kind of unique plot, because I think the Monsters Inc. plot of scaring kids for screams that power the world, it's a cool idea, and there's nothing quite as imaginative in terms of the story. Even the action, the visceral bits, not as good as in the original either. So if you cast your mind back to the bit with the doors in the last scene of the original film, where they're just jumping through doors, ending up in different places, popping out in different parts of the room, jumping through doors that are on their side, and then falling. It's so visually entertaining, and they never really quite hit that mark at all. No, it doesn't. It feels almost a lot kind of smaller scope than the original as well.
I suppose, given that it's a prequel, is maybe why they did it, because they didn't think they could top it. Maybe, I don't know.
But the plot is the kind of disappointing part of this. But there's enough humour and enough charm in this to kind of keep things flowing. I just don't think it hits any great heights or breaks any new ground, which is a shame because, we've said in the past that Pixar are great, but the longer since I don't think they've done an amazing film since was out before Toy Story 3 or
Toy Story 3 is probably the last good one I can remember.
Yeah, and they had a block of movies that were absolutely phenomenal. So you had Wall-E, Up, and Toy Story 3 out,
and Ratatouille was before that.
Ratatouille. So you had a real block of amazing films, top-notch films, and it elevated them from the premier CGI animated film house to an absolutely amazing studio.
Yeah.
But they're kind of slipping a bit because Brave
fell flat for me.
I liked it, but
sweet, but
it's not amazing. I didn't think it was so good. I just thought, yeah, it's enjoyable, but it felt akin to something DreamWorks could have produced.
Yeah, I agree.
Whereas Pixar's good movies feel like only films they could have made.
And then you had Cars 2, didn't
yeah, Cars 2. Oh, no, did Cars 2 not come out before Brave? Or, I don't know, I can't remember. But yeah, Cars 2, we've said it before.
It's awful. And
it's not
now
great.
We've seen it, we can actually say that with, honour.
Yeah. I sat through it, and I didn't like it. But, so yeah, this is another one that... I think it's on the level with Brave, this film.
I think it's above Brave. I enjoyed this so much more.
Yeah, I think you may have enjoyed it a bit more than me. Now, I don't dislike this film. I just don't get that excited about it. I'm
not excited about it. Well, I think the point that I was trying to make was that I liked Brave less than you.
Maybe, yeah. Well, yeah. I enjoyed Brave probably on par with this movie. I thought this movie was full of charm. It was funny. I really liked getting Mike and Sully back together, and at least they put a different spin on their relationship. So that was one thing. But the plot was so bog standard, you could see how things were going to trundle along. In fact, I only thought the plot started getting interesting in the kind of final act. Which breaks the mold from that kind of let's take on the jock frat boy house.
It seems to be wrapping up a lot earlier than it should, and then there's like an extra like addendum on the end.
Yeah, and it's pretty adult in the way it kind of just says, life's not. It kind of just puts a big sign saying life's not what you might want it to be, but you've got to make the best of it, and it's kind of. It's pretty sad in the way it does it. I thought it was really good, but as I say, I don't think the plot got really particularly good until that kind of competition was over. Yeah. And I got to say, the one thing I did enjoy, it kind of made me second guess what the film was going to do, because at the kind of what I was presuming was going to be the climax, I thought, Jesus Christ, this is such a cop-out.
I know exactly what you were thinking was going to happen.
Yeah, and I was thinking, Jesus Christ, Pixar, what are you doing? But no, the film lasted another 20 minutes after that. And things, I thought, damn, you turned it around, and you kind of surprised me, and I liked that part of it.
I love the sort of the last 30 seconds, where it's like, I was expecting them to do at the end of a lot of these films, they like freeze the camera and then tell you what these characters did next.
Isn't that what Animal House did?
Yeah, like in Animal House, and it's like, and you get to the last person, it's like, but remember, Billy will be back in Animal House 2, and then it goes to the real credits.
Yeah,
I was expecting them to do that, but instead it's like a little photo book of just what Sully and Mike did next.
Yeah, I did like that. I got to say, the film didn't end how I thought it was going to end, and the last act wasn't anywhere near what I expected. It was far more grown up and far more serious than I ever anticipated, and I thought the film was all the better for it. I think, in fact, that last act maybe bumped my rating up of this film.
I agree. If they'd copped out and done what I thought they were going to do, I'd have come out severely disappointed.
I would have vomited blood. That's how I was rolling my eyes, but I think I was maybe a bit too quick to judge. But one thing we haven't said though is that this film looks gorgeous.
Oh yeah, this is so. I think my friend David came out. He's like, the character, he just came up with something so deep that I wasn't expecting to hear from him, and he was just. You see the character design, how clever it is that every monster in the background is so lacking in detail, but they're such obscure shapes that the background cast just looks so vibrant at all times, even though it's just like, oh, he's just a square.
Yeah, that's so, you're right. That is fucking out the blue. But no, he's got it right. You've got the furry ones. You've got Sully, who back when Monsters Inc. was made, it was a technical marvel. Yeah. But they seem to have buffed up the amount of hairs on him, and he looks fabulous. You've got Art, the one voiced by Charlie Day, who looks like a kind of, the McDonald's grimace, the purple thing. He looks like that if it was squeezed through a tube.
Yeah, he does.
But he's covered in purple fur. He looks great, and you've got loads of different textures and kind of patterns and colours, and everyone looks great. There's some really vibrant and varied character design. It's
the design of the campus as well. It's like when students think they're going off to university, they're like, this is what they imagine. Yeah. It's never like that, but this is just like a student's wet dream.
It kind of had a Tim Burton feel to it, but without the gothic colour
scheme.
It
was like Tim Burton, but actually friendly and nice.
Yeah, it was cool. I really liked it, but there's so much variation in the background. Yeah. All the different monsters kicking around. God damn, I thought I was watching a Pokemon film.
Well, yeah. Especially when there's some giant ones and stuff, and just ridiculously big monsters.
Sometimes. Yeah, there was a lot of kind of little background jokes just happening in the, with that kind of surrounding cast. As you see, you've got a giant playing frisbee in the quad. Yeah, and then one of them that's actually in the trailer is there's one of them who's a giant slug who doesn't want to be late to class, and he's trying to sprint along and he's just going at a snail's pace. You've got loads of different ones like that, so they're really imaginative. Just one thing I did actually really like as well is the sorority who's competing in the tournament. How they're all identical clones of each other.
Yeah.
Just like sorority girls tend to be.
Oh God, I never even thought of that. That's marvellous.
So there's loads of little clever jokes in the background and everything. I thought it was pretty cool. So yeah.
I want to talk about the music, because that, the riff that dubbed over the montage at the beginning and at the end, I fucking loved it. Just it's only I can keep singing that 8 seconds long all day.
I can't actually remember it.
Well, I can't remember it now, but we'll put it on. I'll get you right. It'll be on the beginning of this review. That's the music you got to use.
All right, you got to get me a copy of it though, because I
Yeah,
can't
will
remember
do.
what it is. I'll probably, as soon as you play it, I'll probably go, oh, of course. But
Yeah.
it's been like nearly a week since I saw this movie.
I know,
so-
and like it's really annoying because I love it and I can't remember how it goes because it's so obscure and weird. But it's like done with an American high school band, so it sounds so familiar at the same time.
Yeah, you know when you get that thing in your head where you can kind of hear music, but you can't quite nail down the tune?
Yes.
It's such a fucking stupid thing to say, but...
I believe it was all Randy Newman like back as well.
Yeah, probably old school Pixar. You know, Randy Newman does some great music for Pixar movies. I mean, you can't get better than You Got a Friend in Me.
No, you definitely can't.
Such
That
a
was his
good
first one. He
theme.
should have just quit then.
Exactly.
Except we wouldn't have had this one, so yeah, we'll stick this in. I thought it was amazing.
Right.
And
Okay. Then. I'll have to remember. I'll have to find out what it is because I can't remember it. But yeah, Monsters University. You know what? The trouble with this movie is, for all I like about it, there's a lot of things I think that they maybe could have done better with it with a new Monsters film.
Yeah, no, considering how much like the original one was so original as well.
It's such a good idea, and I don't know I don't think this one wastes potential or anything like that. I don't know, man. I think they could have maybe tried a bit more. I think the fact that it's set in a university limits it to that kind of stereotypical university plot.
Yeah, maybe they'd done them from being in the mailroom.
Yeah, you know, or something like that. Maybe something different. I don't know, but for what this movie is, rather than what it isn't, I think this is a solid movie. I don't think it's one of Pixar's best, but it's certainly not a terrible movie.
I'd say it's in the mid-level.
Yeah, as far as sequels go, it's probably one of the better ones.
Yeah.
It's certainly better than fucking Cars 2. It's vibrant, it's colourful, it looks gorgeous. There's a lot of humour here, both in the forefront by the main characters and kind of just throwaway background jokes. It's fun, but I think the plot's weak, and I kind of feel because of that this is a bit of an unnecessary prequel.
It is unnecessary, but it's just nice being back with Mike and Sully, and at some point maybe that's why they wanted to make it. They just didn't know where to take the story, because Monsters Inc.'s fairly well rounded off.
Yeah, well,
I wouldn't want them, even if they found a way to move the plot on afterwards, I wouldn't want to see it, because it's got such a heartfelt ending, like right at the end of Monsters Inc.
Yeah, it has, and it's kind of left on a bit of a cliffhanger.
Yeah, it is, and I like that. And
not so much a cliffhanger, but like an open-ended thing.
I wouldn't want to have that. Just if you remember, it ends with Sully just smiling for some reason. I wouldn't want to see what happened after that.
Well, you don't need to. It's kind of completely contrasting in subject matter, but it's kind of like the ending of The Last of Us.
Yeah,
ends on something a bit similar than that, and it's kind of open-ended, but also very final.
Yeah.
There's enough direction to let you know what's going on, but you can use your imagination to fill in the gaps.
Yeah, and I think that's the greatest ending that you can make. So I wouldn't want them to have done a proper sequel. So yeah, maybe they have limited themselves, but they were like, we want to see these guys again, so we're gonna have to do something.
Yeah, and it as I said, it's not a bad sequel. It ain't even a bad movie. It's just not Pixar's best, and it's certainly not pushing any boundaries. It's just kind of like a gorgeous
it really
film, but it's fairly run-of-the-mill in other respects.
Say, if you didn't have a soft spot for the original one, maybe this one might fall even more flat because... I don't know how to look at this, because you're right, the plot is substandard, definitely for Pixar. Nothing actually happens, really. But the character development's so good, but maybe it's because we know where they're going to end up, or...
Yeah, I think a lot of this kind of rides off the sentimental value from the first film.
Yeah.
But it'd be interesting to see what somebody who hadn't seen Monsters Inc., if there is a person,
yeah,
because the thing is about Pixar movies, most people see them because they're pretty good and they appeal to all ages.
Yeah,
and I got to say, when I went to see this, the cinema was full of kids, and I get the impression that Monsters Inc. probably appeals to younger kids more than it does kind of teenagers or even adults who have grown up with it. Like when we went to see Toy Story 3, I bet your cinema was full of people our age.
Yeah, no, it was, yeah.
It just, and adults were going to see it, whereas Monsters University was full of young kids with parents. So I think this maybe appeals to younger children and more as well. But yeah, I keep saying this, but Monsters Inc., not Pixar's best, but certainly definitely a solid animated movie.
I feel like after the bad spell, as we'll call it, they've been going through, this to me is a positive swing. It's not massive, but I think they're moving in the right direction again. So what's the film for next year?
Oh man, I can't even remember. Is it something new?
I think it is.
I can't remember then, but
Is it the dinosaur?
I can't remember, man. I'm trying to think, but the trouble is, like Pixar have a number of different directors on stuff, so I can't even click on the director of this.
Yeah.
It was Dan Scott.
Apparently, it's called The Good Dinosaur.
The Good Dinosaur. Actually, here's something interesting. Dan Scanlon, who directed this, directed Cars, the original Cars.
What, this Monsters University?
Yeah.
I quite like Cars.
Ah, sorry, he didn't direct the Cars. He helped write Cars.
All right. Well, that's why the storyline sucks balls then.
And he also directed Mater and the Ghost Light.
Right. Okay. No, but like, if you watch Cars, is a film full of heart and good characters, but no plot, which is
pretty much sums up this movie, really. Except this one I thought was funnier than Cars.
Yeah, Cars isn't that funny.
It doesn't rely on car humour.
Yeah.
So yeah,
genre they invented all on their own.
Exactly, and it made them a fortune, but didn't really take off with critics. So yeah, I suppose we should come into a close. Really, what would you give this as a rating?
I want to give this a B+, but that's like boosted its stats for nostalgia value. I don't know what I can't distance myself from my feelings towards the world that they're showing us.
No, I think you're kind of hitting the nail on the head there. I was going to go B personally. But no, I think B+ is a fair estimation, really. This is enjoyable. I'd happily sit and watch it again. I wouldn't go to the pictures the second time necessarily, unless I had somebody with me who really wanted to see it. If you were a fan of the original, you're going to find a lot to like here. Kids are going to like it because it's bright, colourful, and full of funny monsters. Adults are probably going to laugh at some of the cleverer, wittier, more adult jokes. And it isn't on long enough for you to get bored, regardless of the kind of bog standard plot. In fact, kids aren't going to understand what a kind of college story is. They're not going to understand or have any context to that template. So they're probably going to enjoy it more than adults. But
because they've probably even seen Animal House.
No, judging by the little girls I was sitting next to, I don't think they even know what Animal House is. They won't even heard of
Jim
Belushi. Not Jim Belushi. Fucking hell. Sorry, John Belushi. Goddamn. Yeah, John Belushi. They won't even know who the fuck he is. So, yeah, I think B+ is a kind of pretty much on the mark for Monsters University. But I gotta say, oh god, this is terrible. I shouldn't really commit this to audio that's going to go on the internet. But I went to see this right after seeing Pacific Rim.
Yeah.
So, because I had a free Sunday, I was just going to I was going to go and knock a couple of films out back to back. So I went to see Pacific Rim. That's fine. Then went straight back in for Monsters University because it was just starting, and I was sitting there by myself, and basically I was the only man over like 14 by himself in the place, and I ended up having to sit next to like about 6 little girls who were maybe 6 or 7. They were very young, and I sat there watching the film, and I didn't mind at the time, I think I was getting maybe a few strange looks for being there by myself. But as I was leaving, I went to the toilet on the way out, and I noticed I'd been sitting there with my fly open all the way through the film.
Oh,
so
fantastic.
I kind of understand why I was maybe getting looks, not because I was by myself, but because I looked like a fucking nonce. I'm going to get banned from Cineworld.
Yeah, you are.
Was
that what you went to see with the tits?
Spring Breakers. Yeah, I was sitting there by myself watching Spring Breakers, look like a fucking pervert. Sitting there with my fly open watching Monsters University with loads of little girls around us, look like a nonce. It's not good. I'm definitely going to get banned. I hope nobody reports me.
Well, I thought you were going to go into the toilet and you heard like people talking about that weird guy that was sitting next to their girls.
Oh, no. No. I luckily didn't hear. God, I would have died if that. I would have just been, I'm going home, never to come back. But no, nothing quite that bad.
Hey, I want a piece of that action!
Tentacles and serpents' wings, they...
Can't wait to start scaring with you, brothers!
We're gonna rip you to pieces!
Don't go in there!
Have fun,
kids. I'll just be here listening to my tunes.